I don't have anything as prophetic to say as our previous speaker here. I kind of fed off Mitch's idea that he doesn't know a lot, or doesn't know a lot about some people, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and update for some of you because I haven't been around very much. The other thing is I have some ideas about recruiting, I guess, or how the club should be structured. And that's not a big deal, but I will give you an example of what I'm already doing. So when you start in the beginning, I'll start where I was born, which is I was born in Holland. I came over when I was about 8 or 9 years old as an immigrant in the area of Paterson, New Jersey, which is just one step below Newark, New Jersey. We lived first in an attic, then we lived in a storefront, then we finally rented a house, and years later we were able to buy a little square box with a roof on it, you know, that my mother and father put the money together to buy. My father worked in a factory all his life, in a chemical factory.
Why did you come over? Why did your family come over?
In 50, this will date me, but in 51.
But why?
Because Europe was in shatters. And my father had a brother that emigrated to America before the war, and he was doing well, relatively speaking. And so he pulled my father in. My father worked there for 6 months, and then my brother and I came over on a boat. And the only time I got seasick was when I pulled into New York Harbor and saw the skyline.
The Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, we went past the Statue of Liberty into Hoboken, and that's when I got seasick, which is pretty amazing. The results of being born during the war, I don't have any memory of it, except my body has a memory. As you know, the Gestapo wore black shirts and uniforms, and every time I see a police in my rearview mirror, I immediately freeze.
Wow.
It's like post-traumatic shock. And I don't know why. I don't have any physical memory of it. Monday I came home with a black shirt, and my mother went absolutely crazy.
Wow.
Because it represented Gestapo. The Gestapo in Holland, they occupied, we had a house. My father was a mechanic. The garage was physically next to the house. It was like cold. The house was here. Walked out of the kitchen door, you were in the garage. So that's where we came from. I went to high school. I wasn't a great student. Didn't know why. But 3 years later, I did go to college, into Bloomfield College, which was an adjunct of Rutgers University. I couldn't get into Rutgers because my high school grades were not good enough. So what did I do? I studied philosophy, which had nothing to do with anything as far as anybody was concerned. But that's a decision I'll never, ever forget. I learned a couple basic principles. The premises determine conclusions. The bell curve always works on anything. If you have 5 of anything, you can plot it on a bell curve. You know, you can't change the bell curve, but you can move the bell curve. Later on, so I went to college. I then got a job. I was looking for a job. I was hitchhiking in New York, and a guy picked me up from AT&T. And I was on my way to Quebec in winter, hitchhiking to maybe talk to someone about a job up in Quebec. Make a long story short, that didn't work out. I got a job with AT&T and was almost immediately fired. That was in the days when it was an absolute monopoly. AT&T was so big that it wasn't even listed on Fortune 500. And another thing that's interesting about AT&T, the reason I got almost fired was because they had a dress code where you had to wear a hat. And you had to wear a white shirt 7 days a week in a suit, 5 days a week in a suit. Well, I didn't wear a hat. Never had one, never bought one, still don't like them. And I would come in on Fridays with a blue shirt.
You're radical.
And I was called into the district manager's office, and I was told that I was on sort of a probation. It was a soft probation. It wasn't like a formal type thing. Well, they decided to put me in what they call a accelerated program, or at least try out for an acceleration program, which is basically they take a group of people, college people, they put them on a fast track for management positions within the phone company. Well, I failed that testing, but I did learn something interesting. One of the things that most of the Allies were really, really amazed about with the Germans was their administrative capability and how functionally they were organized. And it turns out when the war was over, they learned that they had a system. That system, we being the United States, AT&T, One, a lot of other companies, took that system and brought it to the United States for their management structure. And AT&T, because I studied philosophy and other things related to that, was the most pure form of communism you will ever see at that time. It's probably changed. But so if you read how communism is supposed to be structured, that's exactly how AT&T was structured. That's changed over the years. Anyway, one day, I don't know why I'm dwelling on this. One day, I was drinking a lot during lunch. I had managed to make a friend with somebody there. And so the district manager and I were standing in the urinal, or in the bathroom next to each other at the urinal. And he used to like his liquid lunch also. So he called me in his office and he said, "Listen, Herman, see there's a black book, white book, and a blue book." He said, "The only thing I do is follow what's in that book, and every decision I make is based upon that book." He said, "I'm not firing you, but this is not the place for you." So anyway, I did eventually leave. I came to California. When I came to California, for a year or two, took off, so to speak. I painted houses, I did a lot of photography, smoked a lot of dope, spent a lot of time on the beach. And,
What year was this now, Herman?
60s.
60s or 70s?
60s.
yeah, 60s. And great time, great time.
I bet it was a great time.
So at some point I realized I needed to get a serious job and make some serious money. So I don't know how I got there, but I got interviewed by a guy who worked for ITT, which was International Telephone and Telecom. And I did a quick interview, and he was going to take me to lunch. We got into his car, and Debussy was playing on his radio. And I said, "Oh, that's Debussy's so-and-so," because I like classical music. I got hired on the spot. Shows you a lot about the telephone industry. And so I became a salesperson selling telephone systems. Telephone systems at that time, there's such a thing as call centers. People, you know, we call in the 800 number and you get all the crap that goes along with it. Well, at that point in time, it was based off telephone systems. Eventually, I got a job where they used small computers to do the same thing at half the cost and twice the amount of information that you could get out of those systems. At that time, I never heard it before, but at that time when I was selling, I would say, if you can't measure it, and one of the big values of these systems was that you could track what everybody was doing, beginning of where we are today. You could see how long the calls would get distributed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we would be able to increase productivity with these new computer-based systems by about 50% over the other system, the older type telephone systems. And because I always pick things that are probably not right for me, such as new technology, bleeding edge, I use that word bleeding edge with great sincerity, I wound up being very successful because we were the David, well, I was the David, we were the David against the Goliath. The phone companies, Northern Telecom, Pacific Bell, blah, blah, blah. In any case, so I stayed with that company that I was with the computer-based company, was with them for many, many years, worked my way up, and eventually became a district area that I had California, East Coast, managing the sales organization. At some point, I don't remember why, but I left them and worked for a company called Vocent, V-O-C-E-N-T. It is no longer around, but it was another bleeding edge company. What they were doing was they were taking dictation software, dictation software recognizes what you're saying, converts it into letters, right, or papers. So we were working on a project where we could take voice print, and everybody has a unique fingerprint and has a unique voice print. And we were selling, or trying to sell, using voice prints as security tools within financial organizations, i.e., instead of having a passcard, you would just say a phrase and the door would open for you. Well, that was early 2000, somewhere around there. About a year ago, or half a year ago, this is what, 18 years later, now if you have an account with Charles Schwab, it says, my voice is my password. It took 18 years for that technology to get into a fully commercial application, and probably because there were 2 recessions in between. So eventually, when the recession hit in 2000, 2001, nobody would buy. Nobody would even take your phone calls. You know, one guy said to me, if it's not falling over, I'm not looking at it. I'm not replacing, I'm not upgrading, I'm not doing anything. That's all. I'm only doing broken stuff. So I was shown the front door. I had, at that time, my wife and I didn't have any children, so we adopted a wonderful daughter. Okay, so yes, I was afraid I was going to have, no, I'm not talking about too much now. So we adopted a daughter, and then 4 years later, I got shown the front door, and then I came to a great realization, which is now my focus, which is retirement, is that I was 50 years old and too old to be rehired as in a corporation. And I had no retirement plans. So I'll fast forward to where I am today, and that is consider this to be, and it's not compliant, but a private pension program using a universal life insurance policy. Life insurance, as everybody knows it, is for when you die, it goes to your heirs. But there are also policies out that give you money during your lifetime, and they're worth very little at the end of your lifetime. They are protected from market volatility. They're not in the market. They are, so instead of taking 5 years for your 401k to recover, you know, now you don't lose any money while the market's down, but you only gain money. And that money comes to you tax-free. And I think it's the most purest, honest product that's out there, period. And that's, I'm out of time. But that's kind of what I do right now. And I have one quick thing I want to get into. I also belong to a leads group. Everybody know what a leads group is?
Mm-hmm.
Right. There was a woman that came here, Zara, from the Ambassadors of Hope and Opportunity. She did a presentation, and she requested somebody. Well, I was impressed with that, and then I took her to my leads group, which is about 10, 12 people. She made the same presentation to our group, and within 2 weeks, we had raised $3,000 in a laptop computer. And that's a group of people who are like me, who don't work in a 9-to-5 job in a bank, right? Because it's a different type of people. And I think we need to recruit those type of people here for this organization, because everybody's going to say, what's in it for me? I know we're a service organization. If that's important to you, as it is to me, and also the group that I belong to, that's really great. But also, with the leads group, we all try to help each other build our business. And this organization is not designed to be, but it should be. It should entertain the possibility of doing that and having that ability to recruit new people, because you could bring someone in, they're going to say, who can I do business with? They may not say it out loud, but that's what they're saying. That's what they're thinking. And unless they see a way to do that, unless they people can talk about their products, et cetera, I think if you kind of shift the focus just a little bit and make it business friendly, because a lot of people are still trying to make a living. And if I can't get help from you guys, I'm going to go somewhere else. So, end of story.
All right. Well